What is happening, y'all? It's Superlakitu here. It has been officially 1 week since the release of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and man, oh man, do I have a lot of things I would like to say about this game. Now, a week prior to the game's release, I did talk about my excitement for the game and how I just simply couldn't get it out of my head for the life of me, and that video actually turned out to be a lot more well received than I thought it would be. Like, wow, it kind of blew up a little bit, at least for my standards. It is by far my most popular video on the channel, and it was just so awesome to see all of the positive feedback, hearing y'all guys' excitement for the game, all the likes that were left on it. Like, it really showed me that you guys truly enjoyed what I was saying, and I just couldn't be more thankful for that. Like, it really means the world to me, and I'll be sure to put out a lot more higher quality content in the future, because now this has kind of set a bar for myself that I need to constantly up my game and put out videos that'll be enjoyable for you guys. So once again, thank you so much. But with that out of the way, let's just talk about the game itself now. So there was a bit of concern coming from me in regards to how well this game would perform, in terms of whether or not something would have popped up to sort of throw a wrench into this game's sort of hype train. And I'm happy to inform that nothing of the sort seems to have happened. The game came out and it was just as peak as I thought it would be. Like, this game is just incredibly addicting to play, man. It really does capture that feeling of racing games that I've played in the past at like either arcades or even say Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, which was basically the last Sonic racing game that I properly played. And man, it takes those elements and then it just cranks them up to the max in the best way possible. It just feels so immersive compared to a lot of the other racing games, or I guess kart racers, that I've played in the past. And this could definitely be recency bias talking, but there's just a certain feel about this game that is just different from all of the kart racers that we have received up until this point. And it incorporates a lot of elements about racing games that I really did miss. So while I'm on the topic about how the game feels, I'll go into more detail about that. The game just kind of moves and feels like a dream, man. Like, when you get that controller in hand and you press that accelerator, like, it really feels like you are driving the vehicle that you are driving, whether that be the power vehicles, the speed vehicles, the extreme gears, which are my personal favorite. And it just feels so satisfying to not only get accustomed to these different types of play styles essentially, but to also master them on the various different tracks of this game. Like, this game is definitely a racing game that anybody can get into, but there are some levels of depth that you do need to know if you're going to be climbing up the ranks and reaching those upper tiers of online. And this is something that I had to get accustomed to myself, but when I did, oh man, it just made the game that much more fun. And there are a lot of tight, and I mean tight, turns in these tracks that you have to know how to navigate. Otherwise, that'll either potentially lose you out on a good amount of placements, or just end up ruining your whole flow entirely. So when you reach those sharp turns, you basically have to let go of the accelerator and just hold the drift button for as long as you can until you get to a proper point where you can boost off into a proper direction, and then you accelerate once again. Now, to my knowledge, other racers have done this in the past. It's just something that you wouldn't see in, say, like Mario Kart, which is where I'm mainly familiar with a lot of kart racers from, since, well, That's kind of been the primary racer that I've been playing for the past decade plus now. But this game just feels a lot more immersive in that regard, as it really does feel like I am driving the vehicle in question. And you accompany that with how fast this game can go, and man, oh man, things can get real intense. And it just makes things all the more exhilarating whenever you do end up getting that first place, or make that extremely wild comeback at the very, very end. And I guess while we're on the topic of sharp turns, I do want to discuss the tracks in this game. And in my opinion, all of the tracks in this game are very, very high in quality. Like, there are very, and I mean very, few tracks that I really am not a fan of. And even then, at best, I think they're okay. I don't think they're like bad whatsoever. You combine this higher overall quality of track design with the CrossWorlds mechanic, and it is just an absolute blast to play through each and every race that you do, because the CrossWorlds mechanic of being able to shift from one track to a completely another one is something that I'm surprised hasn't been done before, and at the very least hasn't been done in a way that CrossWorlds does it. Because like I mentioned in my last discussion video, one of the reasons why I'm not so dedicated to racing games is because of how, I guess, repetitive they can be at times. Yes, the outcome of the matches are different each and every time, but the track layouts are pretty much the same, and it's basically just you trying to perfect how you maneuver around the different obstacles, twists and turns and all that, which in some ways can most certainly be a lot of fun. But it does come to a point where it's like, man, I wish I could, you know, do something else, or I wish there was something to really spice this race up. And the CrossWorlds mechanic does exactly that. Each race that you do, something is guaranteed to be different on the second lap. Like, you are not going to be on the same track each and every time. There's going to be something different about the race. Say you're in an online lobby and you happen to go to, say, like E Stadium twice in a row, you can know that on the second lap, that next track you're going to go into is going to be very different, most likely, from the E Stadium race that you had prior. And I think that's what really does add to this game's replayability factor. And it's the reason why I can play for so long without even getting remotely tired. Each of the tracks are also super unique in the way they're designed, and there are a lot of secret paths or shortcuts that you can take that'll really boost up your chances of winning, and it just makes learning these tracks super enjoyable as well. It's super risky, especially if you're playing online, but when you hit them, ooh boy, it is really, really satisfying. I think some of my standout stages for this game would have to be, in terms of the main tracks, Aqua Forest, Ocean View, Kronos Island, and that's only like the tip of the iceberg. Like, I can go on and on, like Apados, Wonder Museum. How could I possibly forget about that one? That's one of my absolute favorites. There are so many good tracks in this game, and it's the whole reason why I just find this game just super enjoyable to replay constantly. Another aspect of the game that adds to its replayability factor is the gadget system, which is honestly one of my favorite additions to this game. It is such a simple concept, but the way in which they execute it is just so well done, as it just adds another layer on top of knowing the layouts of each of the different tracks and just going from there. One of my favorite gadgets in the game is definitely Spindrift, which I made a whole build and video dedicated to that, so feel free to check that out. I'd really appreciate it. But it's one of those features that really does change the way that you look at the game, and it really adds to the strategic aspect of a lot of kart racers, such as item management, taking shortcuts, and all of that. And most importantly of all, it just allows you to keep things fresh. Obviously, not all gadgets are made equal. There are definitely some outliers in terms of their power level, but even the ones that aren't as good can be a lot of fun to use in a lot of different ways, depending on how you combo them with other gadgets. Like, another favorite build of mine that I have been using is basically a speed item oriented build where I run a triple item gadget so I can hold up to 3 items. I run the increased speed item chance up, which takes up 3 gadget slots, and the last slot is usually just a flex spot, so I just threw in mini ring thief just so I can, you know, keep my ring output up so that I don't really lose out on a lot of the top speed that I have. And man, it really does give me a new perspective in how I play the game, to where I'm more so managing which items I have, as well as deciding what times are the best to properly use them in order to gain the upper hand in a race. Now, it is not exactly foolproof by any means, but it does give me a clear goal in mind that I can use in order to basically sneak myself out with a couple of wins or high placements. And it is just super, super cool that I can basically devise my own different strategies just by implementing a couple gadgets that might have some synergy with each other. I certainly hope they come out with more new gadgets for the game so that we can experiment with them more and just add some more diversity in general to the way that we play. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's been implemented. Now, it wouldn't be a kart racer without having to talk about the items. And honestly, I would say that for the most part, the items in this game are relatively balanced. There doesn't seem to be, aside from I'd say maybe 2 outliers, where the items are like so blatantly overpowered that they completely just ruin the whole game for me. And even the outliers I was pointing towards, which would be the buzzsaw, I don't know if that's the official name, but it's basically like the saw that you throw at people. It cuts their vehicle in half and it makes them drop an item. And also the slime, which does a similar thing. It covers up your screen. You have to rotate the movement stick in order to get rid of it, and it makes you drop your items as well. Like, those ones do so much, it can completely ruin your whole flow in the game. But even then, I feel like those are the only 2 that I'd really have any gripes about. The others are definitely strong in their own rights, but in the context of the races themselves, they don't feel unfair at all, which is something I can definitely say about a couple of items in the Mario Kart games for sure. This is something I also really wanted to talk about, but I'll keep it concise so that I don't just start rambling. And it's that the music in this game absolutely slaps, dude. Like, man, when it comes to getting me pumped up to play the game, a lot of the tracks in this game really do it for me. The fact that each individual track has their own unique final lap themes is so cool. It really does kind of put the idea in your head like, yeah, this is now or never. You gotta go in, you know, take the gold. And I think the greatest example of this has to be, I'm gonna bring it up again, Ocean View, where for the first 2 laps you're just listening to the standard Ocean View track that you would hear throughout all of its different appearances in the Sonic racing games, but you realize that something is very much missing, and that is the lyrics. Well, once you get to lap 3, after you get out of that CrossWorld ring, you start hearing the lyrics being played, and oh man, when I heard that for the first time, I was just in heaven, dude. Like, it was just so surreal, because that was just the one gripe I had about that track. And for it to pop up on the 3rd lap when it counts the most, yeah, it really did it for me. And a lot of the other tracks in this game also have similar themes as well. So props to the music team and all of the different producers that they brought on to make a lot of these tracks. Like, they did a bang up job. And the fact that you even have a jukebox that you can not only play these tracks, but you can select which ones you want to be played on each of the individual laps in the races that you play is just so cool, man. I really hope this is kind of like a staple that a lot of other racing games follow in the future. I also wanted to briefly touch upon the ranking system in this game, which all honesty is pretty dang forgiving. Like, it doesn't feel demotivating at all to play ranked, especially in the basically lower echelons, because you gain so much more than you lose. And while yes, it could basically just disincentivize like a competitiveness factor to it, but don't worry, that is very much what legend rank is for. And you know, it just sort of prioritizes you having a fun time more than anything, rather than just focusing on, you know, how many points you're gonna gain, how many points you'll lose, more importantly. And it is just something I really enjoy about the online in this game. I even hit legend rank myself a week after playing the game, and it was, I would say, a decent grind, but it didn't really feel taxing to me whatsoever. And of course, it could be the fact that, you know, the game just came out. I was pretty much on a high the whole time. I was having a blast playing it. But I feel like that would only be the case if I wasn't having fun in each of the races that I was playing. Even in the races I was losing, I was still having a fun time. And that is something that I cannot say about a lot of racing games. So yeah, props for the rank system. I think it's pretty dope. You also get different rewards for reaching certain ranks as well, so it kind of incentivizes you to keep on playing. I do wish you could get some more tickets based on how well you do, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I've talked about a lot of the positives that I have in the game, but I do have some critiques and just things I would like to see be improved upon in the future for this game, because it does seem like Sega is seeing how well this game is being received and is willing to commit to it. So these are just some things I would like to see them add to the game to just make it even better than it already is currently. And the first thing I would like to see is a replay system, because there were just moments and times where I feel like I shouldn't have gotten hit by a certain item, or maybe why I didn't make a proper shortcut correctly. And it would just really go a long way if they added some form of replay system so we can go back and review our races. And it would also just be cool to show off certain clips for other people to see as well. So implementing something like that would be super dope, especially as a content creator, because I could take some of those races and get specific scenes from them. Now, the next thing I would like to see is maybe more modes in online ranked matches potentially, or just worldwide matchmaking as a whole. And the one I'm thinking of in particular is a supersonic speed mode. Playing supersonic speed mode in the Grand Prix made me realize just how much more fun this game can be than it already is. And I just would really love it if they added that in some way to the online matches. Maybe as a separate mode, but at the same time, maybe that'll separate the base a bit. So maybe it'll be a thing that is unlocked once you reach, say, like A+ or legend rank. But yeah, I just would really like to see a mode like that be implemented. And another mode I would like to see be implemented is, I guess, like a CrossWorlds only mode. Now, this is something you can do in your friend matches or like online friend lobbies, but it would be cool to see it implemented in some way in the worldwide matchmaking, where it's either you can only play on CrossWorlds, or you have each individual lap be a different track entirely, kind of like the final tracks in the Grand Prix. I feel like having a mode like that would be pretty cool, and even just like a standard racing mode, as boring as I'd like to call it, but I know there is an audience of people that would just like to play on the tracks normally, and so having that as an option would be, you know, cool to see. Basically, just take a lot of the online, you know, friend match things and just kind of move them into a mode that you can play in worldwide matchmaking. That would be super duper dope. Now, another thing I would have liked to see was more skins for the characters. Now, I know there are the AI skins that you can unlock by giving the characters that you like tickets through their friendship sort of mode, but it would have just been cool to have each of the characters have like one additional skin that you could either unlock or just buy with tickets straight up. Now, I know they're likely to add something like this in the future, at least that's my hope, but you know, with the president of skins being in the game, it just would be nice for them to, you know, have more of them for each of the different characters. Like, I would love for the Sonic gang to have their Sonic Riders outfits. Like, those would be so cool as like either completion rewards for certain things, or for playing a certain character for a certain amount of time, or even just straight up in a shop that you could just purchase with tickets like I mentioned earlier. Another gripe I have about this game is the online connection issues. There are times where I'd either get kicked out of the lobby entirely for no reason, or there would just be long waiting times for either the race to begin or for it to just load me into a lobby. I'm not sure why this is the case, but I do hope it's just something that is refined in the future, and hopefully fairly quickly at that. It hasn't happened to a point where it's become like a huge issue, but it is apparent enough to where I feel like it should be addressed. And last but certainly not least, and is the biggest complaint about this game for a lot of people, or at least one of the biggest complaints, there is another one that I'll quickly address, but it would have to be the fact that the DLC characters don't seem to have voice acting whatsoever. And they have commented on this about, you know, it basically costing them a lot of money and whatnot. But I feel like for a lot of these Sega IPs like Joker, Ichiban, like characters who are pretty defined in their voice lines, is something that I feel like they really shouldn't have skimped out on. Like, just because SpongeBob doesn't have any voice lines, or you can't get voice lines for him, doesn't mean that Joker, Ichiban, and any future DLC characters shouldn't get any voice lines. It probably is just a money thing at the end of the day. Maybe they didn't have the proper budget to, you know, purchase a lot of these VAs times and all that, but it's just something I would like to see them add in the future, given this game's recent success, and it would just add a lot more personality to the game. And I'm not even talking about like having them do rival combos. I'm just talking about having them, you know, have voice lines for just racing through the game, getting hit by items, winning, all that, you know, just kind of like the bare minimum. And I guess the other sort of elephant in the room would be the price of the game. Now, it was pretty, I guess, staggering to a lot of people, the fact that Sega was charging $70 for this game. Basically just a AAA price tag for a series that is known for not exactly doing that a whole bunch. And I will agree that paying $70 for a racing game is kind of ridiculous, considering that racing games in general, just while they offer a lot of replayability, they don't really offer the same level of content that you would in a lot of these other AAA single player games, or even some online games at that. That being said though, the quality of the game is there. They clearly put a lot of love and time into it, and it's probably the reason why they were so confident at putting it at a AAA price tag. And don't take this as me fully defending that, oh yeah, they should definitely, you know, release more $70, $80 games in the future. Like, no, not at all. But what I'm basically saying is that I am pretty satisfied with my purchase, all things considered. So I don't have as much issues with the price being as it is, although it would be very nice if they, you know, made some sales for the game, decrease its price a good amount, and so to get more people into the game, because this is genuinely a fun game and I want more people to experience it. But the price tag is definitely a large barrier for a lot of people, especially during times like these. And with that, I think that will conclude a lot of my general thoughts about Sonic Racing CrossWorlds after playing it for 1 week now. I think the game is absolutely phenomenal. It truly did reignite my love for racing games and reminded me of why I play them to begin with. And I just hope Sega sees how well the game is doing, sees all the positive reception that it is getting, and just, you know, commits to it and gives it proper support in the upcoming future, because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of potential here, and I just really hope they don't squander on it. So that'll pretty much be the end of this video. Let me know how you guys are feeling about the game in the comments section down below. Are there any things you would also like to see added to the game in the future? What are some things you really enjoy about it? I'd really like to hear other people's perspectives on the game and their experiences. I think it's just super cool to, you know, listen to what other people have to say. And yeah, that will pretty much wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And I'm not sure if I have mentioned this, but I have started streaming, by the way. This was actually the first game that I ever streamed on the channel, and I've been streaming for roughly a week now, and I've been having an absolute blast doing it. I typically stream on YouTube at 9 p.m. EST. I'm thinking about also streaming on Twitch, but that's another thing that I'll have to look into in the future. So for now, it'll just be on YouTube. Yeah, we have a lot of fun there. We just kind of goof off at times. You'll get a lot of silly moments. So yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Take care, y'all.